speaking up, um, we actually saw Quiet on Set,
Oh yeah.
and those infamous NDAs that we were talking about earlier, that plays like, I feel like, a big part in a lot of people not coming out and seeing stuff, because as much as things might be successful, we forget that not always the artist is, or the actor, whatever, is the one that's taking home majority of the money. It's usually the production companies, producers, like all that other stuff. So they don't have as much money as the other, like, as far as like, just because they're famous does not mean that their bank account is looking like that. And so I feel like exactly when these NDAs get signed, they're giving them such an amount that, you know, the fact that they're willing to sign it, honestly, for me, like with Nickelodeon, $300,000 doesn't seem like a lot of money to be like, no, you like,
Especially when you're out in LA.
right, and to be like, now, if it's under the thing of like, you're gonna sign this, right, and not talk shit about us, because then there's gonna be like things lined up, and from here on, like, even though this $300,000 isn't a lot of money from like coming from like Nickelodeon, right? But we have these deals lined up, and in particular, I'm talking about Ariana Grande, because really she's one of the ones that was able to like become a bigger star, right? Right. So now, like, see, we're helping you with your career, and having the connections, because they were able to work the schedule for her to be able to be working on her music career and then being an actress on Nickelodeon, right? For her, I feel like, right, it was worth it, like, to an extent, right? Because obviously we don't know what happened. But to some of the other people that were on these shows, like on Victorious, iCarly, on those, I feel like, damn, yeah, really, like, I'm sorry, but the abuse and the trauma was worth $300,000. You know what I mean? Like, because regardless, their careers not most of them, they haven't done anything after that to where it's like that we can keep up with them. I'm not saying that they don't have anything going for them. So I'm saying for us, so that they're still in the limelight. Um, and then, the girl that did not sign the NDA, Jeanette McCurdy, which is Sam from Sam and Cat, and then iCarly, she wrote the book. She wrote the book about, how it was, without saying names, but, you can read between the lines.
Yeah.
Um, she got a lot of backlash, babe. Like, a lot of people called her own like co-stars, like people that like worked on the, maybe not on the same show, but like the network. They're like, you're a liar because that didn't happen to me. You know, that wasn't my experience, so you're lying.
Yeah, I'm shocked, but not really, of how many people, especially in that industry, um, are backing each other up. Because it just reminds me of other places of business. If it can happen at a lower level, of course it's happening like in a higher level. Like, meaning like how some people are uh together, watching out for each other, when they get into shit at work and stuff like that. Um, I just see the same thing happening there, but still though, like, come on now, like, because here's the thing, it gets personal to me, because it's like, from hearing teachers always say, oh yeah, like, you want to act this way because, you don't ever want to be looked at as like a thug, like some sort of criminal and some type of monster, like,
Mm-hmm.
that no one's gonna want to work with you,
Right.
like, um, in the sense that, like, because in order to make it, you need to abide by the rules and be honest, all these, what I'm saying, like, ethical, like, uh characteristics that you need to like develop and become to be respected and like and get by through this world, especially as a minority. Like, oh, or else you're just not gonna be respected. Only to find out like how many of these like white people are doing this crazy shit. Like I gotta say it that way because it's like
Mm-hmm.
y'all always make me feel like I could never amount to something like that. And to be honest, like I wouldn't want to be or ever do it, especially when that shit goes on. Because
Mm-hmm.
like I think about the black kid in there, how he wasn't even given the chance to sign anything. Not that thankfully he didn't have to, but like what I'm saying. Even
Mm-hmm.
the fact that they didn't even like suggest it for him, they just call his mother up one day and like let him know that yeah he's not coming back on the show.
Yeah. And part of that was because she spoke up and like essentially followed the rules of what they're saying, like, hey, if you see something wrong, you see something like that's not okay, speak up, because you're trying to advocate for your child and for like how the world's supposed to be, and they're like, you're a problem for doing that. Because in that sense, what I will say about school and how they say like the argument is like school does not set you up for life. School sets you up for you to just be like a follower, essentially, like following the rules blindly, right?
Yeah.
Um, because they don't teach you how real life and like all the stuff that they told us. It's funny because that gets ingrained in you, but then when you go into like especially corporate America, right? They're like, no, you gotta be kissing ass and being fake as fuck in order to move up the corporate ladder. It doesn't matter how hard of a worker you're doing your job and minding your business. That's not how that works, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and that they're not really preparing you, and they're preparing you to be people pleasers, you know? And then I feel like exactly that's what happens in particular, that they're like, you know, hey, in order for you to like move up, you're gonna have to let certain shit slide, and like, how bad do you really want this? Like, because if you want it so bad, you're gonna do things that maybe you didn't think you were gonna have to do, but you want the dream, right? You want to be, like you want to be all these things, and this is what it's gonna cost. Remember, like we've been talking about it on the pod, everyone has a price. Everyone has a price for their dreams, and it's like, how bad do you want it, and you're gonna have to do some shit that you didn't think you would have to do. Like you hear about it, but now that you're in it, you're like, oh shit, this is for real. This is how it really works, like.
Yeah. And again, uh personal wise, it's like because just being told um that I'm gonna be looked at as dirty and like some savage and sexual predator. If I behave a certain way, come off flirtatious and say these sexual jokes and whatnot, and you got this fucking guy having people rub on him on the set, like, and no one's telling his ass no. Like, if y'all all just been like, no, that's kind of weird.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, why even do that? And you know what I'm saying? Like, then I gotta like point the finger at the staff because it's like y'all like that too. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, those two females that got the same salary, you know, together and split it, like that was like messed up. Like,
But that's and I'm not trying to get off topic. That is where I say white feminism is like not a good thing, because that's that bullshit right there. That they're like, oh right, but it's because we're like breaking down. But you didn't fucking break down nothing. You broke yourself down. You didn't break any barriers for women to be like now like welcome and like be respected by taking that. Like that's what I mean when I'm saying I'm like, just for the opportunity though, because then they didn't get anything out of that, like not them actually, those two women in particular did not continue in that field, so their career was like, and cool in the sense because one of them finally said enough is enough, but even still, like I was like, that's what your feminism's for, to put yourself in those compromising situations, like
right? Yeah,
that's what that's where you're leading the rest of us,
yeah,
that's where I'm just like, yeah, no, That's not what my feminism looks like, you know?
Yeah, no, true. Yeah, same here. And to continue on, it's like, you know, uh, just it's like sick, like because the shit that they're like writing and having the kids do, like again, no one to be,
No one.
looking out for them and be like, yo, you know this fucking script here is, we obviously know what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
you
And
know,
you're having children do this.
yeah, like, and to record it and to edit, like you're going through the entire process and no one is like, yo, this is weird, right? Like, even Nickelodeon themselves, I know they got to review the shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, so they weren't safe to begin with, and then for the Drake Bell to be like sedated, like why do y'all have to do this? Like, and again, I feel like it's because these would be the same adults that I would be, around talking about how I need to act.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like
Right.
the shit that I would do is disgusting, or
Beneath them.
right,
Right.
right. And you guys are doing this to children, like come on now, like, and why? You know what I'm saying? Like, not, and I know the obvious reason, but like, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, exactly how like the Brian Peck was being excused from someone saying like, oh, well, he's gay and he may come off a little flirtatious, so that's all it is. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, nah, like, it's a grown ass man and it's a teenager.
I
You know
would
what I'm
I
saying? Like,
would say in that sense, because like in that in particular, I'm like, right, because he likes guys and this is like a guy, even though he's a boy, like it's still plausible. It's just like if it was like any other way, you'd be like, yeah, it's a little weird that you're
yeah,
doing that. Like, oh, because he's like, now if he was doing it to a girl, maybe you could say like, oh, right, because he's gay, right? But it's obviously to another male, whether he's like old or young, is like besides the point. And the fact that they like threw around the word homophobic, like, because his dad was, they told him like, oh, are you like you homophobic? Because like, and then he like, exactly, that's where the being like politically correct or like following the rules, he's like, oh wait, I'm not, that's not what I am, it's just it's kind of weird, like, and it's like parents aren't even allowed to trust their gut feelings anymore because like they gaslit him,
yeah.
like they gaslit. And speaking of like how you were saying about like the whole crew, in particular I will say the cameraman, because he's like, because he talked about it, like he's there and you're telling me you can't tell that these are sexual innuendos, and that, hey, maybe the fact that teenage boys, with in particular with one of the shots, they knew what it was. They're like, hey, that kind of looks like,
Oh, right, right. Where that chick was saying
yeah,
like that she was hearing them
yeah.
say it.
And
Yeah,
then she didn't know what it was, but I was like, yes, exactly, as teen boys, they already, these are teen boys and they know like what's up, because they're like, what, 13, 14? They already knew what's up. I'm sure the fucking grown ass men also knew. And Dan Schneider, because this is who we're talking about, it's about him and Brian Peck. Dan Schneider, there's one line in particular where he's like, yeah, I love when they're like feisty or talking back to me, because then that means I can write them into certain scenarios that they're gonna hate, but they're gonna have to act now, like to where he gets back at them and puts them in like compromising, like, so it's just like, it's like fucked up, because then it's like the only ones that became successful is because the parents were not around. The ones where the parents stepped in, other than Drake Bell, right? Um, their careers didn't really go anywhere, but they were safe. Now, I know a couple of them were like still resentful, have like going to therapy because like their dreams didn't go. But I'm like, I think now, in light of, I feel like it's probably balanced out to be like, it's a good thing I didn't.
yeah,
But at the time, can you imagine as a child just being like kind of feeling some way towards your parent because they they rescued you, they looked out for you,
Hmm.
and not understanding fully what that meant. And in particular with Drake Bell's dad, because he put his foot down and was like, hey, he saw the shit was like wasn't right, and he knew something was wrong with that guy. And for the mom, bitch ass mom, to just to spite the dad, right? To be like, no, I'm just like, to take joy in the fact that like, oh, you're not his manager anymore and all these things. The one thing that he asked her for was like, don't let him around Brian by himself. She didn't want to take him. She didn't want to drive, and that's why
Right.
that happened. And then for the fact that whenever Drake talked to his dad and was like, "Oh, hey, by the way, like he finally got like locked up," and for the dad to be like, "See, I knew there was something wrong with this man. Like I knew. Thank God nothing happened to you." And for Drake to be like, "I couldn't tell my dad that it was me."
Yeah.
You know, like can you just imagine like the guilt that that man has, because he's like, "God damn it! Like I really thought like, you know."
Yeah. It just like it pissed me off, like because again, I just been around like grown ups like that, how they're like extra friendly, and I could have said like, yo, and maybe I was right, maybe because that is some weird shit,
Mm.
like to be around adults in school and then them saying weird shit, even if it was towards me or like even someone else, to other classmates, and like see how like the coaches are being like, friendly
Especially the
with the
coaches.
girls,
Yeah.
like instead of me feeling like, oh, or being told I'm a hater, like, nah, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
come on now. You know what I'm saying? Because I know if I was in that position, you guys would flip it. Like, you guys always manipulate that shit. And I always hate that. Like, oh, a man of color, you got to watch out. He's a predator. And, like,
Right.
always, it's always just them, and
Hmm.
like it'd be these nice, friendly white people like disguised as like not disguised, but like in these positions,
Right.
like that are up there, and we have to take it as like we could never, because for whatever reason, and the truth of the matter is it's just because we're not down with that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just the fact of it. That's how I'm seeing it. Like, and I'm glad I didn't watch that shit, because just watching what they're showing, like the episodes, I was like, yeah, I think I would have thought automatically if I had cable and watched that shit, I would have thought like this is some weird ass shit.
So it was because growing up, like, well, SpongeBob's on Nickelodeon. I remember the whole thing with SpongeBob. Eventually, like the moms were like, "Hey, don't like something's up with SpongeBob. Like it's a little weird. He's like, a little gay. That's gonna obviously have impact on the kids." Like they were really pushing that with that. But it wasn't even just SpongeBob, and obviously it was like iCarly, Victorious, the Amanda show I thought was like weird. Um I didn't watch Nickelodeon. Um I watched Disney more. But there's like the Stumpy and somebody else. There's these two like little monitos, and they would like, even in the cartoon, it was like really inappropriate. There was a lot of like sexual like situations with it, and like Cow and Chicken too. Like there's these, even the cartoons themselves were like weird. And the whole thing with SpongeBob, where Bikini Bottom is located, is actually the rumor is that it's the same location of Jeffrey Epstein's island. So like there's just all these like there's all these things. Dan Schneider doing a lot of the feet pics. Like it was just, when we were, because my siblings would watch it, and I'd be like, yo, this is like weird. Do y'all not find this weird? It's like inappropriate. Like, how's that funny? I thought a lot of them were like gross. I was like, it's not funny to me. Like, I think it was just like really over the top, and it was just like they're pushing like to see, you know, what how much they could get away with. I personally didn't like, and I don't. Once I heard about like stuff with Drake Bell like before, and the kids wanted to watch Drake and Josh, and I told them absolutely not. Like, you guys can't watch that show anymore. It's like it's weird.
Yeah.
Um,
And
well,
whenever you have an opinion like that, or like come out and call some shit out, like especially at work, people are gonna go against you. They're gonna outcast you, and they're just gonna manipulate it. Like,
but that's just what it is, and you just have to know that going in. I will. I do want to like finish off by saying like I know obviously in these situations like with Hollywood, it's like weirdo white people. But it's not just white people. I do want to like reiterate. I'm like honestly, what it comes down to is like the parents need to be involved. You should not leave your children where you can't fucking see them. You should be involved every step of the way. And I'm saying because like even I feel like a lot of especially in our community, in our Hispanic community, we're very trusting of like certain institutions and not questioning because it's like right, a teacher, like obviously they're supposed to be teaching children and your children are supposed to be safe, right? Like that's the gist of what you get. But you like you should just know like especially why be so trusting? Why you don't know this person? Yes, they're supposed to look out for your children. But there's a lot of fucking weirdos out here like letting the teachers give your child the ride home, not knowing who your child's tutor is like for after school tutoring. Like honestly, that's what irks me about them not allowing us back into the schools and like just at the door because I'm like, no, I need to know who the fuck is around my kids.
yeah,
Like that really bothers me that like ever since COVID they use that as an excuse to kind of keep the parents out because like I can't really get in there other than like certain times that they allow us to go in. That really bothers the shit out of me. The second thing I was gonna say was the church thing. Like, just because you're in a church is not like, come on now. We all know we're all fucking humans. We all make mistakes. We're not fucking perfect. And some of us are fucking like evil. Like, why would you just trust your children just because they're in a church? I mean, are we just gonna like turn a blind eye to all these priests molesting children? Like, I just don't understand that. And then even within our families of the whole, particularly in our community. Oh, it's because they're family, and it could be like a fucking uncle that you've never once met in your life. And somehow, like in our culture, we're like, that's family though, so you need to be like trusting and like they wouldn't possibly do anything like that. Like, that's just so weird to me. It's always gonna be someone, always, 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 it's gonna be someone that that's close to your family. The reality is that yes, you could get raped and kidnapped off the street, but that the chances of that happening are a lot less than it being someone that friend, family. Like it's just that's usually how it goes, and I just feel like from watching the show because I had the kids watch it, I really wanted to like it can happen in within 5 to 10 minutes as it could happen. So like you don't even need a whole fucking day for it shit to go down, and it's like that's exactly why you should be around your kids all the time. Like in those situations where you're wanting to like have them out here following their dreams. And that at the end of the day, if you feel like something's not okay, you need to put your fucking foot down and be like, no. And that's it. Like,
yeah.
like,
And like you said, true, it can be anybody, and I agree with that. It's just like again from a personal place. It's just always been them that's been the most trusted, the most
oh,
protected,
for sure,
the
for
most
sure,
excused,
for sure.
the most you know, um elected in these positions to know what's best for us,
Right,
while calling us ignorant, will never amount to things, uh, especially to be in those positions like that and to become writers, to
right,
be creators
right,
and so forth. Like, and especially by them being used as examples from faculty saying like, you don't know what it took for them to get there. You have no idea. You'll never amount to that. And, you know, your beliefs, your integrity, like whatever, will never, you know, ever be as theirs, which is like purity and whatnot.
absolutely.
And that's why I feel like a lot of that shit goes on in those positions
Absolutely.
because of that, you know, trustfulness that we all been like, pretty much, what am I trying to say? Like,
It's been stuffed down our throats for the
yeah,
longest, yeah.
to like automatically feel like, that's how it is, and it makes sense of how it is, like.
And I think that's a great point because going back to the Diddy thing, right? I think that's why everyone's like kind of shocked because like you expect that from a Jeffrey Epstein and a Harvey Wein yeah, Weinstein too,
Yeah.
right? It's funny that they have very similar sounding last names, right? Um, but that, they're like you expect that monstrosity even though people don't like to talk about it from them, So that for like a person of color to then enact the same like that same type of like stuff, it's like I know a lot of them are like right now are trying to be like, damn, a black man can't ever. I'm like, no, let's not do that. Like, everyone should be getting it. But it's like, exactly, did y'all guys think y'all had like all of a sudden this white privilege that you guys would be able to get away with it and that they wouldn't come down a lot harder on you guys? That just think about that. Like, you're a shitty person regardless. Like, I think Candace Owens, like she tweeted like, right now they're making a huge thing out of the Diddy thing because he's gonna be the fall guy because there's again like they're trying to distract us from like other stuff coming out because like Jeffrey was like with obviously actors and like politicians, but now we're going into the music and we've known about it, right? But it's like starting to connect, and now it's like again with the children's network. So like I don't know, it's crazy because like we're just seeing that that's just unfortunately how the world works. It's a lot of that shit. Not just with children, just in general. Anyone that has like a position of power over someone, like they're just using it, they're abusing their power, and it just needs to stop. And that's why we need to continue talking about it as much as like, sometimes I'm opposed to always talking about like, oh, it always just feels like we're talking about like depressing shit. But these are things that we need to talk about because we shouldn't stay quiet and just like sweep it under the rug anymore. Because,
Oh yeah, for sure.
We just need to expose it.
Yeah, about everything we talked about tonight on this episode, for real. You know what I mean? Get it out there. Everyone needs to talk about it. Stop the bullshit. It's time to clean it up. From the inside out. Like, stop the cap, as they say. We can all do it. Let's look out for our children. Raise them right. Stop having them get brainwashed and manipulated by these sick men. You know what I'm saying? And associates with females involved too.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and women. Let's not forget women can also be bad people, like not just men.
Helping them out.
It's the pick-me's.
It's some bullshit, So we gotta keep our children safe, for real, like, because they know what it is, and the way they got us programmed, it sucks, and that's why we need to be there for them, and not let these, punk asses like take over.
Absolutely.
And make them feel like,
they're not worthy.
Yeah, and how life should be according to them.
Right.
So there you have it. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
We out.
We out.
It's Bed Talk.